Royal heartbreak. While Charles and Andrew were blamed for Diana and Sarah's unhappiness, Prince Charles and Prince Andrew set a disastrous example to their brother Prince Edward and was substantially to blame for Princess Diana and Sarah Ferguson's difficulties in the royal family. According to a biographer, Charles married Diana in the spectacular 1981 royal wedding. The Prince of Wales' brother Andrew followed suit with Sarah in 1986. However, both marriages would crumble with separations in 1992 and high-profile divorces in 1996. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward, her book Prince Edward in 1995 explains how Edward didn't want to follow the disastrous example of his brother's marriages to Diana and Fergie. Ms. Seward writes, as later events would so clearly illustrate, neither woman was able to properly integrate into royal life. For that, Charles and Andrew must shoulder a substantial share of the blame. There is no school for princesses, as Charles valued the late Stephen Barry remarked. It was up to the prince to help their wives to learn the royal rules and regulations. They were manifestly unsuccessful in their task. It was a failure that would cost them their marriages. The author adds, a failure that Edward had no wish to repeat. Under his guidance, Sophie was set a more cautious course towards her royal destination. Miss Seward goes on to claim that Diana and Fergie went on to resent the way Sophie has been slowly and carefully introduced to royal life. She writes, the Princess of Wales and Duchess of York only discovered how difficult royal life could be after they were engaged and already en route to the altar. Sophie was already given a careful and subtle introduction, a fact which didn't escape the notice of Diana and Sarah. Both would later complain, with more than an edge of resentment in their voices, that they had received no such help as they struggled to get to terms with their new situation. However, Prince Edward had little sympathy for his sisters-in-law. According to the author, she writes, Prince Edward doesn't hold his sisters-in-law, the Princess of Wales and the Duchess of York, in high regard. Taking his cue from Duke of Edinburgh, he deems them substantially responsible for many of the difficulties that have beset this family and so undermined their public standing. Although the Duke and Duchess of York divorced 23 years ago, Prince Andrew and Fergie have cohabited ever since. In the last week, they have been spotting holidaying together at the exclusive resort of Soto Grande. Andrew followed Fergie after her hasty departure from Balmoral to join her on the Spanish escape. Queen Elizabeth has always treated Sarah Ferguson better than Camilla Parker Bowles. Despite similarities, Queen Elizabeth has welcomed Meghan Markle into the royal family with open arms, but this hasn't been the case for women who married into the House of Windsor. Sarah Ferguson married Prince Andrew in 1986 and Camilla Parker Bowles married Prince Charles in 2005. And even though Fergie and Camilla have many similarities, the two had very different experiences as royals. Both women had previous relationships. Camilla met Charles in the early 70s and they had a brief romance until Queen Elizabeth intervened. The 25-year-old Camilla had previous lovers, and royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams says Camilla's history meant she was not a suitable wife for Charles. She mixed in a similar set to Charles and they were undoubtedly ideally suited. Fitzwilliams told the Express it was a different time and the expectation was that Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, would marry a young, innocent virgin bride. This ruled out Camilla and paved the way for the forced marriage between Prince Charles and Diana Spencer. Charles loved Camilla and he was reportedly heartbroken when she married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973. Sarah Ferguson, on the other hand, had also had previous boyfriends before dating Prince Andrew, but the royal family didn't seem to care. The Queen Mother went further and said that any girl of 26 would have had previous boyfriends. It was perfectly natural and she thought Sarah would be ideal for Andrew. Wrote Ingrid Seward in the biography Sarah, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of York. Queen Elizabeth's reportedly a huge fan of Ferguson and the monarch has had an enormous affection for her, but that continues to be the case despite the fact she and Prince Andrew divorced in 1996. Could Prince Andrew and Sarah be getting back together? Despite divorcing more than 20 years ago, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have remained friends. Not only do they attend various royal events together, but they also still live together in Windsor. Ferguson is no longer an official member of the royal family, but she still spends more time with her former in-laws and is currently staying at a shooting lodge on the Balmoral estate near the Queen's summer residence at Balmoral Castle. An insider says that Queen Elizabeth invited the Yorks to her estate as a family, which is a sign that she gives her approval to Prince Andrew and Fergie getting back together. Prince Andrew and Sarah are at Balmoral as guests of the Queen and are expected to be there for a number of days, says the source. It's not the first time they have been there as a couple in recent years, but it is significant because of all the rumours about them getting back together. The insider says that Balmoral is a quiet, remote place where the royals can work things out in total calm, and considering Prince Andrew was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who recently died in his jail cell while waiting to go to trial for sex trafficking allegations, Balmoral is exactly where he needs to be. Queen Elizabeth finally accepted Camilla Parker Bowles. Even though they both married other people, Prince Charles still loved Camilla, and the couple began having an affair when he was married to Princess Diana. After Charles divorced Diana and Camilla divorced Andrew Parker Bowles, the couple continued their relationship, and after Diana's tragic death, Charles and Camilla stopped hiding their love for one another. It took a long time for the public to approve of Camilla, and it was extremely difficult for Queen Elizabeth to acknowledge the relationship. She even refused an invitation to Prince Charles' 50th birthday party because she knew Camilla would attend. However, Queen Elizabeth finally gave in June 2000, and she met Camilla at King Constantine's, former King of Greece, 60th birthday celebration. The Queen's grudging acceptance of Camilla seems to be the turning point for the public opinion, and by the time she married Prince Charles in 2005, nearly two-thirds of the British public supported the union. Queen Elizabeth and Philip didn't attend a private civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall, but they were a part of the service of prayer and dedication at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, and they also attended the reception afterwards. Sarah Ferguson reveals Princess Diana nearly left Charles years earlier. Bags were packed. Sarah Ferguson revealed Princess Diana nearly left Prince Charles years earlier than she really did. After reading with an astrologer, Princess Diana's astrologer Penny Thornton claimed the late princess packed her bags after their first meeting. She claims Prince Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson had called to say her sister-in-law was grateful and was ready to bolt. The astrologer also claims Prince Charles' approval of the first visit because he wanted a solution. In an article for the Daily Mail, Miss Thornton said, "After my first visit with Diana, Liz Noken rang me straight after. Sarah Ferguson had rang her and said, 'Please tell Penny how grateful we are. Her bags were packed. Charles is extremely grateful.' She was going to bolt, and she didn't. That Christmas, I had a card signed by Charles. He certainly knew of my first visit and approved it. He wanted a solution." Diana and Sarah, affectionately known as Fergie, quickly became close after marrying into the royal family at young ages. But years of public scrutiny in the royal family took their tolls, and the sisters-in-law quietly plotted to leave their husbands. Prince Charles and Prince Andrew escaped their lives in the spotlight. However, Fergie and Prince Andrew's marriage breakdown was leaked to the press in early 1992 before the pair announced their separation. And instead of leaving her own husband after years of an unhappy marriage, Princess Diana decided to stay with Prince Charles to avoid public ridicule. She eventually divorced her husband, Prince Charles, the father of her two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, in 1996. Princess Diana, who died in 1997 Paris car crash, is said to have started an affair with Prince Charles' friend and top art dealer Oliver Horry in 1992 after her father Earl Spencer died. But when Mr. Horry's wife threatened divorce in 1993, he broke off the affair. Meanwhile, despite splitting in 1992, Sarah and Prince Andrew waited until 1996 to divorce. By then, Fergie's affairs with close friends Steve White and John Byron had been made public.